Hey there, Craigmont. This is Mr. Fowles, and I want to talk to you about how we read primary sources. You will see plenty of these documents throughout the year, and I just want to give you a heads up on them. So, it says homework, but I'm going to grade this. It'll be worth more than a homework grade because you'll do more than typical homework work on it. I'll probably put it as a test grade. So, oh. But since it is going to be a test grade, we of course use blue ink. Date, whatever your period is, I'll put second period. So we've got a large text, and without doing any work at all first, you just read over it. You have this in front of you, but if you're just watching the video, I'm not going to read it out loud, so I'm going to sit here and show this, and you can pause. That's part one, and there's part two, and you can pause and read it if you'd like. But don't even worry about marking it up then. It's not that important. Now on the back here, I've got the instructions. So first is word work, where we go through and we're just looking at for keywords, and if we don't know one of the words, we can put a question mark. I'm going to use red here. You can do this all with one color. I'm using colors here to help illustrate a point. So as you read it, just keywords, maybe an expression, anything that jumps out at you. Cyclopean jumps out at me. Steep hill jumps out at me. Large granite block. So you don't want to do too much. Indians, and that's definitely a key there. America, proper nouns tend to be keys. Temple, there's a big word. I don't know that word. Well, I do, but maybe you don't. Let's see. Ashlers. Altar. We have more temple, plaza, or courtyard. Peru, there we go. Looks like this three windows thing is a big deal. Ooh, there's another name. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. And we have another name, Inca Manco the Great. Ooh, that's a lot of important terms here. So that's not even too much. And that's, anything in quotation marks, University of Idolatry, Principal City. So there we go. So we've picked out a few words. We know where we are. We're in Peru. We know what we're looking at. Plaza, courtyard, temple. I'm not sure as a student what this ashlar thing is. So put a question mark by it. Maybe I don't know Cyclopean. Boop. That's good. So that's kind of your first reading. Well, you might know your first time you can just go through and not even write anything down. Second time you have your pencil, you might just skim over, get the big words. Now before we move on, we're going to chop this piece of text up. So the first thing you do is you draw a line between paragraphs, and it's easy to do that if your text has paragraphs. If it doesn't, it's a little bit harder, and we start off by just numbering our paragraphs. This gives us a way to discuss it that is universal. But maybe we're gonna go through again here and just kind of look to see if we need to break it up into smaller pieces. And we do that by just getting a general idea. Typically a small paragraph will not need to be subdivided. This one doesn't. Describing. Here he's not describing anymore, so we're going to draw on another line. He stops describing here. So this becomes 2A, this becomes 2B, or not 2B. It's a joke. And so here he's describing more stuff, 3 windows, and then here again he's not talking about that one building anymore, he's questioning himself. So 3A and 3B. Okay, so we've broken the text up based on content, and we've turned it from one text into smaller texts. And so what we do for each chunk, we're going to go through and read it very, very carefully, and we're going to try to find the main idea. And for that, I like to use a highlighter if I can. Maybe you find something in the text that tells you that the really big idea. And right here, I mean, this sentence for me, let's use yellow, it's easier to see on the screen. Suddenly, we found ourselves standing in front of the ruins of 2 structures in ancient America. So that's the highlight of that first sentence, that first chunk. They're standing in front of this beautiful structure. So I'm looking through. So be welcomed. And so for me, all it really is just describing the building. So every sentence is kind of equally important. So I'm just going to kind of, for me as a reader, he's just describing buildings, so it's actually not very exciting. This is really funny here for reporting accuracy. The sign for accuracy reporting what one is seen is not a preventing characteristic of travelers. Being kind of sarcastic. I think it's kind of funny though. Then here he's still talking about the building, more description. But we've got, this is important, unique among Inca ruins, and he makes a big point about conspicuously large windows, and he makes this connection here. The capital, he's wondering if he's found the capital of the last Inca. Well, if it was not the capital of the last, but the birthplace of the first. And it might be both, which makes me not know to be true. So we've done that chunk, and then down here, well, there's only 2 sentences, so you pick the one that has information in it, and there you go. So we'll take a minute here, and we've seen, we've done a pretty good job of marking this text up. Now we need to go through and we need to summarize in the left-hand column. The left column, we're going to summarize each chunk. For that, I'm going to go to the text tool. Go small for this. Oh, come on. So just so we can get a sense of what we need to do. So here, he sees, I guess I can go a little bit larger. He sees something new, man. He sees something new. That, it's outside. Somewhere in America. We don't know much else. We just know he's seeing something new, and it's a large structure. Good. And then we go down to 2A and we read it again. And we know he's looking at two buildings from here. Principal Temple, niches. So the big temple was impressive. Everything else is kind of details. Not a big deal. Here we learn that he has a camera. Notice I'm writing directly over what I've already written there, the 2B. Kind of sloppy, but it works. 3A, the other building has 3 windows, and that might make it historically significant. Might be important because he thinks it could be where these fellas Salcamewa, I'm guessing. And then it's possible that the first Inca ordered these works, the masonry wall through, and so it could be the birthplace of the Inca, but it had been theretofore thought it was the end of the Inca Empire. So we look at this last penultimate chunk here, 3B. We've already done those. So this is where he realizes that the site might be very important in Inca history. Well, that's his opinion there. And then, down here he resolves to get more information. So by summarizing each chunk, we've done 2 things. We have assessed our own understanding by seeing if we could create a summary, and then we created basically a cheat sheet along the left-hand margin of what was in the text. And by having that cheat sheet, when we go back to review it, we don't have to read everything in great detail to get the main idea. We've also got the main idea highlighted. So we can kind of use those things in combination. Now over to the right is where we kind of make some loose notes. And we try to really identify if we were to cut down into just a couple words or two, like a verb for what the author's trying to do. Here he's describing a discovery. Oops. Discovery. Here he is describing a temple. Here he is being thankful for having a camera. Here he describes the other building. Here he what's the word? He realized conjecture would be a word, but he argues that perhaps the site was of great importance to Inca history. Proposes the idea. We'll say proposes, he didn't quite argue it. And then down here he looks forward to more research. So, and here we can also look up our words. Cyclopean, so we can look that up, and let me grab a dictionary real fast and I'll read the definition and we'll see how we incorporate that. Okay, we're back, and just to see how we do this, I use the internet to look them up, but you may not have the benefit of the internet in your primary source reading. But just to give you a sense, Cyclopean, I looked up using Google.
Cyclopean.
Cyclopean. I mispronounced it because I was thinking it had something to do with Cyclops. But it's pronounced, once again, I'll put the microphone to the speaker.
Cyclopean.
Cyclopean. And our definition here is denoting ancient masonry made with massive irregular blocks. And if you ever looked at a picture of Machu Picchu, you'll see it's got these large, massive blocks. So we can go over here and we draw a line over, and we're going to make a notation here. So in this sense, the wall contained blocks of cyclopean size. So we'll just say large, massive, but we can just say large. And then for ashlar, I went over here and we found, and masonry made of large square cut stones. So big, large stones. So this author found many ways to talk about big stones. And let's get this, draw the line. So, large stones. So we have our definitions, and we've addressed some of our questions. And if you have any questions about the text, you can do that. For example, you might circle this name over here, and then draw a line, and you might say, who is this? And that's to remind you later to have a look at it. Maybe you'll do it in a different color just to remind yourself. So that's how you read and mark up a primary source. And I mean, just so we can compare, we'll look at that later. And so I just wanted to see if I could show you how the two compared. Anywho, this is what it should look like at the end. Notice that it's marked up all over the place. And then what you do is you come to the back and you have questions to answer. Notice each one here, this tells you kind of what to do step by step. This is the annotation section. This is the summary section. I said 10 words or fewer. I've broken that rule, but it's not the end of the world. Global questions for community inquiry, 4 questions there that are every text are the same. These are text dependent. You'll need to read carefully. And then writing to the author, where you'll have to write something. In this case, you're writing a letter to Mr. Bingham, the author of the passage. And I've included this link, which you can get to historymrfowles.com, then click on chapter 1, and this will load, perhaps slowly. And you get, that's not what I wanted to do. You get this page, and then here's the assignment page. So look, you can kind of see the original assignment here. That's what it looks like before you mark it up. That's what it looks like after you mark it up. Bit of a difference. And so you got that, and I got these links. I've got these links that are about Machu Picchu and about the impact of tourism. So those might help you on your writing to the author. So thank you, and if you have any questions, let me know. Bye-bye.